So this whole idea that we can positively influence the direction of our life relies on, there's a sort of a formula that I can apply, or we can apply, that helps us remember what the art of this is like. And the formula is 100% intention plus 100% surrender equals manifestation. So I'll explain what we mean by that. 100% intention is when we get really, really, really clear about what it is we want. So it might be that we want to understand what the next stage of our life is going to be about. And so our intention becomes, I would like clarity about what my next stage of my life is. So you're inviting that clarity in. So that's your intention, you want clarity. And then supposing you know what it is you want to welcome into your life, supposing you want to welcome in money and abundance, or supposing you want to welcome in a new love relationship into your life, or supposing you want to welcome in a new career choice, or something just much, much more kind of ordinary, like a beautiful new dress, or a parking space, or something like that. This part of the equation is by bringing 100% deserving intention to that. And when I say deserving, I'll just diverge a bit into the other principle of manifestation, which is sometimes we feel like we don't deserve things, or we can't have things, or it's impossible, or it's too rare, or for whatever other reasons. And we can get into what we call a mentality of can't have. We can't have it. And so things close down. We just don't really open ourselves to trying or to allowing. The other extreme is when we get into the opposite, which we call must have. It's when we get really desperate and grabby and pushy and manipulative and kind of tight and tense, and that's when we start grabbing at things. And hey presto, that's not the best way of allowing what we want into our life either. So we've got can't have on one hand, and we've got must have on the other. Now if you look at the roots of both of those, the root of both of those is actually a lack of faith, a lack of belief, a lack of trust, because if you don't believe it can happen, you're in can't have. If you don't believe you deserve it, you're in can't have. But if you don't believe you can have it, if you're not really trusting, it also prompts must have. You're over trying, you're over managing, you're over manipulating, you're over grabbing. And what happens when that happens is that things start to be repelled by that energy, and you're trying to play master of the universe, and you're not really trusting. Should you really trust that if you just apply the formula, 100% intention, 100% surrender, it will happen and you can trust it. So to return to the formula, that's intention. You've got neither can have, neither must have. You've got a state of what we call havingness. So it's a state of havingness. Anything's possible, and it's a sort of, it's neither one nor the other, it's kind of overarching both of those opposites. So the other side of the formula, 100% intention, the other side is 100% surrender. And what we mean by surrender is that's when we let go and we trust and we let the universe take care of the details. So it might be that you really want clarity in what it is you want in your life next. But you might not have a firm idea, so you just allow the universe to surprise you. So rather than thinking you have to kind of work it all out in advance, you get the energy and the essence and the core of what you want, but then you just put it out there and allow the universe to surprise you, allow it to come in ways that you probably couldn't possibly imagine, because the universe is much more magical when we let go of thinking that we've got to work it all out, we've got to suss it all out, we've got to organise it, plan it, make it happen. So it's a real relief. The surrender bit is a real relief. It doesn't mean surrender in a weak sense. It means surrender in the powerful sense of trusting and allowing things to happen, to rise up and meet us because we deserve it and because we know we're in the right flow. Surrender can also mean letting go. It's kind of the same thing, but it's about letting go of a fixed outcome. In other words, letting go of thinking it has to be by then, or it's also, paradoxically, conversely, even as we 100% say yes to something, we 100% at the same time go, and I let it go totally. If it's not meant to be, if it's not coming, I completely and utterly trust that that will be right for me. So there's a letting go even in, that's why it seems like a paradox, 100% intention right next to 100% surrender. How can that be? But it is the art of life. If we can just taste, touch, you can feel that sometimes, you get that when you feel that state of having this, when you're so clear, you're so passionate, you've let go of all your fears and all your inhibitions and all your whatevers, and at the same time you just trust that something will come. That's when miraculous things happen. That's when love knocks at your door, literally sometimes, or whatever it is that you're hoping to manifest. So that's just the kind of, in a way, that's all you need to remember. 100% intention, 100% surrender. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do a practice together that helps with that process of 100% intending something and 100% surrendering at the same time. So is there any questions about that, just sort of general principle? I know lots of us have heard this over and over and over again. I enjoy talking about it over and over again, it's really good.
Siobhan, so what's the most magical thing you ever manifested through this?
Oh gosh, the most magical probably my relationship with Pat. But I mean, in terms of kind of what that's done to my quality of life kind of thing. But it wasn't, I didn't know these practices quite the same. I kind of knew them, I was applying them in different ways. So Pat, funnily enough, was doing, as many of you know, the very practice that we're about to do, to manifest his divine relationship, sacred relationship into his life. And he was using those techniques. So I think he would probably describe me as his most magical thing. But I mean, there's been all sorts. There's been, you know, huge amounts of money. There's been holidays. There's been breaks. There's been cars. There's been, you know, there's been all sorts. You know, in terms of material things, there's been loads and loads and loads. But I use it for, you know, even really ordinary things like I said about parking space or something. You know, it just eases life if I remember to just say to myself, I'd love there to be a parking space where it's really convenient. 9 times out of 10 there is a parking space. Whereas if I don't remember to say that, it's maybe 5 times out of 10 there's a parking space. So it's just putting that sort of loving intention out there. I mean, that kind of reminds me really of something that I said earlier on, and it bears saying again, because again this is huge Abraham-Hicks wisdom, is that what we do is we pay attention to what we want. We might acknowledge what we don't have within us, what we're not enjoying in our life, but then we pivot away from that and we put our attention on what we do want. So we don't go into the car park thinking, oh gosh, I hope there's not, there's not a car park, it's a busy Friday. And then we start sort of energising that, and so there's no parking space. We go, there is a parking space, I just know there's a parking space just for me. And somehow, magically, that helps it happen.
So you don't hope for it, you just know it?
You have it, yeah, I mean there is a kind of hope, but it's not a kind of hope from a place of lack, and you know, it's a kind of, they say it beautifully in here, eager anticipation. Appreciation of what is. This is another formula. Appreciation of what is. So gratitude, you know, you count your blessings, even if you're feeling rubbish. You count your blessings, you remind yourself of what you do have. If you're in a state of lack, of not having, you say, well, I've got this great family, and I've got a house and beautiful food, and you know, whatever you need to do to get yourself into that state of appreciation of what is, and then from there, you eagerly anticipate. So you're eager, you're joyful, it's exciting, it's yummy, and there's a sense of, oh, something's coming. So I think that's a bit different from hope. To me, that's a bit different from hope. But it might just be words, semantics.
It's faith.
It is faith.
My experience
Trust.
is faith.
Yes.
And yeah, the thing that you were saying about appreciation, for me recently, that's what's been the key. Because we did the first weekend, and we did all of that, and asking, I can't remember exactly what I asked for. I'm sure it was around finance because things were tight. And then I discovered, through Abraham-Hicks, I discovered The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, which is all about appreciation, which I've done before, but not in the way that she laid it out. So I thought, right, I'm going to just do it and see what happens. It was. So you were saying about, that helped me with the appreciation.
Yes.
That really was like getting me really appreciate everything in my life. And it was just like, then the magic really, you know, of the manifestation started to happen, and it's that faith. And I do the parking angel thing.
Yes.
I go, give me a space, please, and have faith
Yeah.
that will be there. 9 out of 10.
So I hope that just sort of whets your appetite and inspires you a little bit, reminds you. I mean, it is just a matter of practice. You know, it's just a matter of reminding ourselves and having the space to kind of remind ourselves.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
When you said about not having to sort it out yourself always, and I was just thinking, for example, just say you think, oh, I really want to go away, like I do at the moment. What can I do? And then usually I would maybe go home and then go online and look around and oh, maybe this and maybe that, and like this will be like putting it out and then trusting. That doesn't mean I can't go online.
Yes.
It's not like you have to sit and wait until miraculously somehow they will ring you up and say, oh, by the way, you've won a holiday to this place. But it's like you can still look, but the right thing will come to you.
You feed the energy. You feed the energy.
Yeah,
Sounds like, you know, by
and
looking
you don't feel like, oh shit, or maybe not, or yes, or this, but you just relax more, isn't it?
I'm really glad you brought that up, because that is the reality of our everyday life, isn't it? And I think if we do find ourselves like slightly desperately online or something, it's a real sign to stop and go and have a bath or have a walk or do something, or do like we were doing today. And it's a bit like I said to you, Nino, you said, oh, maybe I should write this email. I said, well, maybe just see if there's something broader and deeper underneath, rather than sort of, you know, trying to work it all out on that head level. Just drop it all temporarily and just see, and then we sort of collect up all that magic and all that wisdom and all that kind of power it is really. And then that comes into the service of our purpose. And then that's when things come in not quite the form we thought, you know, because if we go with the online, push it all, work it all out on that level, we kind of narrow down all the options and we might end up with something. But if we can trust and drop into this bigger wisdom, that's when the magical opportunities, they do sometimes. Sometimes you do just get phoned up and offered a holiday. I mean, sometimes it does happen like that. And in fact, the more you live like this, the more it happens, and we just get used to it, don't we? I mean, many of us I know are actually enjoying this synchronicities, things happening, and life becomes easy. It's not such a struggle. It's that our energy it doesn't demand so much of our energy. We're relaxed and we're not having to push and fight and struggle. And that's our true natures. That's the kind of creative, wondrous beings that we are. We are these wondrous beings that, you know, like in the meditation, we can just create. Yeah.
Can I ask a technical question?
Indeed.
You were talking, I don't think it was yesterday, I think it must have been on the first meditation course, about iron filings and attracting
Oh
them.
yes.
And I understand the law of attraction is about what you think of, you get, and you
Yes.
see, which is suggesting like attracts like.
Yes.
Although a magnet attracts the opposite.
Yes,
Doesn't
that's
it?
true. It does.
So how I'm sort of struggling with
How to put the
that's-
two metaphors together?
yeah,
Yeah.
with that sort of scientific. Well, if it's
Yeah.
about attracting like to like, well, actually that magnet does exactly the opposite.
I was thinking about something like this quite recently, interestingly enough, because there's the saying opposites attract.
Yeah.
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 And opposites do attract, but I was thinking, well, what's deeper than that? The reason that it's attracted is because there's something that the person's got a quality that you want. So you're actually thinking about what you want, so you attract that other quality to you. But it's still
Yes.
the law of attraction.
It's
Yeah.
magnetised.
You
The word
magnetise,
magnetised.
yes,
Really
you're
interesting.
magnetising because you want the attraction is a force that makes you makes you want to pull something towards you.
Can I make an observation
Yes.
on that, Marty? Is that I often find as if I attract in, say I'm sort of attracting in a client, their gift to me is the equivalent of my gift to them. Do you know what I mean? So it's like a very complementary
Mutual thing.
thing. So like in relationships, Pat asked for you and you manifested, but he was exactly what you needed.
Yes.
And the yin and the yang it's like a complementary matching, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I think that's very true. Yeah.
The reason I ask it is because I did a session a couple of years ago with a group of apprentice manufacturers. What do you call them? Apprentice. They're in the
Apprentices?
manufacturing. Yeah, they're apprentices in manufacturing.
Yeah.
And I talked about this. I got very excited about the law of attraction and think what you want in terms of your career and where you're going. Because what you think of, you get. And then they just threw this science at me and said, well, that's
opposites
not how the science works. The science is exactly the opposite of what you're talking about. And they floored me. I did not know how to answer it, and it sort of bothered me ever since. Even though I still believe
Yes, in
it's
the
the
law of
truth.
attraction.
although what they said has always bothered me.
But
Yeah.
they
What
were
did
talking about Newtonian physics, and
Yeah.
we're talking about quantum physics. So that's third dimensional physics, and this
Yeah.
is fourth dimensional physics.
Yeah.
They're both valid. One is valid for the material realm, and one's valid for the more spiritual realm. That's the answer.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But also
Yeah.
what Shimati said is totally true,
As
isn't it?
well.
Because you're asking for what you don't already, most of the time you're asking for what you don't already have.
Yes.
So a magnet's is attracting the opposite.
I think
of what
my
you already have.
interpretation was a quantum physics
Yeah.
interpretation
Yeah,
of a material physics.
Yeah.
law.
That totally. I'm there. Right. Sorted. Thank you.
I used to love physics at school. I thought it was fantastic because it was all about laws of the universe. But, yeah.
I don't know that they'd have been ready to have heard that, although I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and because they're all true.
Yeah.
The material laws of physics are absolutely true on their level,
Yeah.
but from another perspective, it sort of includes those laws, but
And
it's a bit
more
more
expansive.
something bigger. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
and so on and so on and so on.